Woman calls police for black twin sisters, shocked to find out their father is FBI chief. Have you ever seen the twinkle in the eyes of two children when they are about to accomplish something big? Something that seems small in the eyes of the world, but that carries the entire universe inside? That morning, Ayla and Luma had a plan. It was not a common plan. It was a silent promise, made between tears and guitar chords, in a room where mourning still whispered through the walls. His father's birthday would be the next day. And what about a man who carries the burden of protecting the country, but who still finds time to teach his daughters how to turn pain into music? Ayla had the idea. A golden palette, engraved with his name. A small object, but with the symbolic weight of a lifetime. Luma agreed without hesitation. They knew what this gift meant. They knew what they were trying to say without words, but how can two 9-year-old girls buy something so expensive? The answer lies in what adults forget, in the power of childish persistence. They saved their allowance for weeks. They sold handmade bracelets to classmates at school. They cut sweets, laughed at those who doubted. Every penny saved was an invisible note of love being written. And then, the big day has arrived. They braided their hair with care. They chose the dresses that their grandmother had ironed with a hot iron the night before. They put on simple but clean sneakers. And they walked together to the most famous store in the city. The facade was all glass, reflecting the cloudy sky. Inside, they knew they wouldn't be recognized. But would they at least be respected? They weren't just walking into a store. They were crossing an invisible border. The border between the world we idealize and the world that still judges by appearance. Have you ever walked into a place where the atmosphere warned you, even without words, that you didn't belong there? As the automatic doors opened, an icy wind of air conditioning blew over the hopeful faces. The girls' eyes were shining, but the eyes that watched them back saw no brightness. Did they see a threat? Did they see noise? They only saw two black girls in simple clothes. What happens when purity meets prejudice? When the most beautiful intention in the world collides with the shallowest look of the city? Ayla held tight to the small price list written down on a folded piece of paper. Luma squeezed the box of recycled coins, as if holding her heart. Neither of them knew they were about to live a lesson that their father could never teach them with chords. And the question that echoes, if two girls walk into a store to buy a gift with love, why does the world insist on treating them as if they were there to take something? What happened next? Everything changed, but nothing could have prepared Ayla and Luma for what they would see in the eyes of the adults in that place. That's it. This is just the beginning. Have you ever felt the exact moment when the air changes temperature? Not because something was said, but because something was thought about you? The doors of the store hadn't even closed behind Ayla and Luma when the first invisible barrier appeared. The attendant, dressed elegantly and with impeccable makeup, looked up from the windows and froze. It wasn't just any scare. It was the scare of those who do not expect to see certain presences in that type of space. She disguised it with a smile, but it was the kind of smile that tightens the lips instead of opening them. The kind that says, "You don't belong here. Are you lost?" "Girls," she asked, in a voice too sweet to be true, "this is a professional instrument store, okay? It's all very expensive." Ayla firmly replied, "We know. We want to buy a gift for our father." But even with this answer, the saleswoman's gaze remained the same. A look that didn't see customers, it saw intruders. What about you? What would you do if you were judged before you even said who you are? At the back of the store, the manager noticed the discomfort. He looked up, noted, thought, but it didn't move. This is the kind of silence that teaches those who have power do not always have courage. The manager saw two black children being discredited in his store and chose neutrality. But is being neutral in the face of injustice? Isn't it also choosing a side? Ayla pulled her sister by the arm and pointed to the window. "It's that one. The golden palette with the personalized engraving." Luma smiled, already holding the box with the money. But the employee didn't smile back. Instead, she took 2 steps back, picked up the phone from the counter, and whispered something. 2 security guards began to approach. "It's just a safety measure," she said. "The store has had problems before with certain situations. It's better to be safe, right? Certain situations." Do you feel the weight of these words? Because Ayla and Luma felt it. They were not welcome. They were not liable. And all that because of the color of the skin, of the simple clothes, braided hair. But here's a question the world is still reluctant to answer. If they were blondes in a swirled dress and shiny flats, would someone have called the security guard? The tension rose like a dissonant chord, a sound that hurts the ears and the heart. The twins were there for love, but their love was being disrespected. And what came next? It would turn a simple birthday present into a national headline. Because when childish courage faces adult prejudice, the most powerful notes have not yet been played. I can continue with point 3 whenever I want. Do you want me to follow now? Clear. Here is the continuation of the narration with point 3. The silent escort, double suspicion, maintaining the cinematic, emotional, and engaging style with dramatic hooks and loops. There was an eerie silence in the air, one of those heavy silences that announce that something is out of place. But this time, what was out of place were 2 9-year-old girls trying to buy a gift for their father. The security guards appeared as shadows. They didn't run. They didn't scream, but the long strides said it all. They came with the same posture that you see in shopping malls when someone tries to leave with an alarm ringing. The difference? No alarm sounded. No object was touched without permission. Nothing. Except prejudice. Ayla and Luma were in the center of the store. They did not flee, they didn't argue. But still, they heard the request that would freeze any child's heart. "Open your backpacks, please. We just want to buy our dad a pic," said Luma, already with a choked voice. The security guard repeated, this time firmer. "Please open it. It's just protocol." Protocol. How many injustices have been committed in the name of this word? A customer who was watching everything from afar took her cell phone out of her purse and started filming. The finger trembled. The image swayed. But the audio was clear as pain. "If we were blondes in expensive dresses, would you do that too?" Ayla asked, her eyes steady. And his chin trembled. The sentence pierced the air like an arrow. A silence took over the store. There was no answer, because deep down, everyone knew the truth. In the recording, it is possible to see one of the security guards looking away. The saleswoman adjusting her badge, nervous, and the manager calling the police. "Let's settle it in a formal way," he said, trying to appear calm, as his face revealed panic. Yes, he really thought that calling the police was the best way to clarify it. But what needed to be clarified after all? The honesty of 2 girls who saved for weeks to honor their father? Or a store's inability to see beyond appearance? On the sidewalk, the small crowd grew. People looked through the windows curious. Some knew what was happening, others just filmed. But no one expected what would happen in the following minutes. Because when an injustice is committed, before watchful eyes, truth finds a way to be amplified. And the question Ayla asked almost in a whisper would soon become the cry of thousands. Would you do that too? But what no one knew, on the other side of town, a father, who was not just any father, had already received the notification. And when he arrived, the music would change its key. As the scene in the store worsened, the city took its course. Outside, traffic, horns, hurried routines. But in a private office in the Federal Security Center, a man was examining documents when his cell phone vibrated. A notification. Just one sentence. Simple, direct, and devastating. Your daughters are being humiliated live. Marcus Dean, FBI special agent, didn't need anything else. Clicked on the link, and what he saw froze his blood. There, in a shaky broadcast on Instagram, were Ayla and Luma. sitting on the floor of an instrument store, surrounded by adults who did not protect them but investigated them. Hard looks, cold voices, and the worst, a silence of pain in the eyes of his daughters. Have you ever seen a father's face when he found out that his daughters were treated like criminals? Not unfairly, but cruelly. Marcus wasn't just a father. He was a man trained to identify threats, decipher lies, and diffuse dangers in seconds. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared him for that video. He got up from his chair without saying a word. He opened a secret compartment in the wall and removed the credential. He entered a code, activated a protocol, emergency code, personal, not national, familiar. Tactical team, immediate position. The priority is top. Fate? The agent asked on the phone. A music store. Marcus replied, his voice firm and his heart on fire. In his eyes, there was no uncontrolled rage. There was something more dangerous, cold determination. He knew the system. He knew how prejudice operated. She knew that if she didn't act fast, the girls could come out of there, not only wounded, but scarred forever. Because there are wounds that don't bleed, but they are silent, and Marcus would never allow silence. To win, the black FBI car cut the avenues with the siren off. They didn't want to alert the city. They wanted to arrive and show that justice also has a face, and that, on that day, the face of justice was that of a father. Meanwhile, in the store, the manager had already called the police. The crowd was beginning to grow. The cell phones filmed. The girls trembled. But, in a matter of minutes, the door of that store would no longer open to customers. It would open up to the truth. And the question that hung in the air was, is the world ready to see what happens when a real father enters the picture? Inside, the scenery was bleak. Ayla and Luma were sitting on the cold floor of the store. The backpacks open, the coins scattered, and the eyes, the eyes. They no longer shone as they had at first. Now they reflected the weight of a world that for eternal seconds had treated them as a threat. The police had just arrived. 2 uniformed officers walked through the glass door with an expression of boredom. Another protocol, another occurrence involving juvenile suspicions. But before they could take the second step, something happened. A black car parked with surgical precision right in front of the store. The dark windows reflected the gray sky. The doors opened, and 2 men with federal badges on their chests and alert eyes stepped out of it. Behind them, Marcus. Dean, he didn't come in screaming. He didn't have to. Marcus was the kind of man who carried presence in silence, and as he crossed the door of the store, every glance turned as if time itself had stopped. The manager, pale, tried to intercept him. "Sir, I'm sorry, but you can't go in without..." Marcus just raised his hand. He didn't say a word. He showed his badge. The FBI emblem gleamed under the white light from the ceiling. It was like mute thunder. The manager backed off. The police officers looked at each other. The saleswoman lost her breath for a moment. Marcus walked straight to his daughters. The knee pads of the suit folded to the ground. Knelt down, and he found the girls as he never wanted to see them, huddled together, shivering, wet with tears that didn't deserve to be shed. "Dad," Ayla whispered. "Sorry, we just wanted to give you a gift." At that moment, time seemed to bend. The public outside crowded, cell phones in hand. The flashes of the videos captured the scene, but no one dared to interrupt. There was something sacred going on there, something that did not fit in headlines, something that only those who have been invisible in this world understand. Marcus hugged them, with force, firmly, as if he would never allow the world to bend them again. Then he stood up. He turned to the whole room, and for the first time that day, the silence was broken, but not with shouts, not with violence, with a presence that said without saying, "Now you will listen to me." Have you ever seen a courthouse born in the middle of a store? There was no toga. Marcus opened the package with firm hands, but his gaze choked. When he saw the read, he swallowed. He read the engraved name carefully, and then he said, with a choked voice, but full of presence, This is worth 1,000 decorations, because it was bought with love and with courage. And you, my daughter, they are the most beautiful notes I have ever learned to play. The camera, discreet in the corner of the room, recorded everything. It was the same video that days later would thrill millions. At the end, intertwined with the images, a caption slowly appeared on the screen. Being a hero is not always saving the world. Sometimes it's saving the dignity of your daughters. And there, in that simple but eternal gesture, the world understood. The true value of a gift is not in what it costs, but in what it represents. And the sound of that love, he would never be silent again. How often is love interrupted by hasty judgments? How many stories of tenderness and courage are lost just because someone looked? And didn't you see? Ayla and Luma didn't want a stage. They didn't seek applause. They just wanted to deliver love in the form of a gift. But they ended up delivering to the world a lesson that many adults never learned. That respect is not a luxury. That dignity has no color. And that sometimes the most powerful note doesn't come from an instrument. It comes from the hearts of two girls who refused to play in silence. If this story made you feel something real, if you believe the world needs more voices like theirs, then share this video now, not like someone who sends a link, but as someone who echoes a cause. Comment. Let no child need to prove that he deserves respect. And if you've ever shut yourself up for fear of not being heard, today is the day to release your note. Because every voice that is born to bloom, no one can prune.